And one look at this box and you're probably asking one question. How the heck did it make it through customs? Because it clearly says anti-personnel mine on the front of it. And it's in Chinese, so clearly this came from China. And to answer that, I have absolutely no idea, but the question you should be asking is how excited are you for the idea of having a remote detonating NERF device in your war? I would assume pretty excited, and we have this in special thanks to Lightake.com, which sent this to me for a video to do on, not necessarily a review or a demonstration, but for me to goof around with, and I very much appreciate them having this very hands-off approach when it comes to me displaying their products on camera, because this thing is specifically meant, as it says on their website, to be a gel ball shooter. And, well, I can give you one guess that we're not going to do anything with gel ball shooters, but for those of you worried about semantics, if you look on places like evike.com, they sell pretty much the exact same thing advertised to shoot airsoft pellets. So clearly these things are rather versatile and can be used with pretty much anything, and, well, that's the name of the game when it comes to this channel. If you weren't excited enough for the grenade that is now a NERF rifle grenade, well, this might be a little bit more up your alley, and these things are actually, for what they do, pretty reasonably priced. It was about $30-35 on their website, which is, for what you get, pretty darn spiffy. And what exactly do you get? There's really not a whole lot on the package that I can say anything about, because it's all in Chinese. M308, sure, why not? 14, age 14 and up, I'm guessing. Yeah, just a bunch of stuff on here that I can't really understand. I don't even know really who the manufacturer is. I'm sure it's on there at some place at some time, but regardless, this thing is pretty darn cool. Maybe it's them. They almost got like a Team Satomi logo. In fact, that's frighteningly close to that. Anyway, point is, we're going to open this up, and you are greeted with, and yes, this is exactly how mine arrived, the instructions, which come pre-punched, which is great. Doesn't really say a whole lot, but does show a whole lot, which is important, because this will show you how to use the thing if you have no idea. I had a vague idea, so I don't really need to worry about that. And you are greeted with the following. You get a thing, a USB cable of some description, a wire, well, rechargeable battery, NiCad, with a wire right here. Yeah, that's pretty useful. That's not bad. I wish it would work in this, but it doesn't. We'll get to that. And then, of course, the main meat of the package itself, and then an empty box, which we will get rid of. And that's kind of interesting. So what's going on here is that we have a wireless NERF grenade explosive device. It's a Claymore. This thing is a wireless detonating Claymore that you can definitely shove NERF stuff into. Spoilers, I've already done it. And it works pretty darn freaking well. This is a USB charger cable for the battery that goes inside the Claymore. Yep, that's about it. Let's take a look at the actual Claymore before we get anywhere else. This thing is, well, it's like an exact replica of an M18 Claymore down to little screw-on blasting cap looking things, which is not good for my purposes, because a certain subsection of you will be very, very happy to know that, yes, this thing's almost identical, so you can use it in your war games and feel like you're a real Call of Duty soldier. For me, the biggest pro of playing with NERF is that you can use it in a public space, like a public park, and this vastly does not pass those qualifications at all. This thing, if I leave this alone somewhere, and somebody who has no idea what it actually is finds this, they're going to be calling a SWAT team and bomb squad almost immediately. This is not good. I will definitely have to spray paint this like bright pink and put little stickers on it for it to be any useful to me whatsoever, but of course I can still demonstrate it in my backyard, and it worked pretty darn cool, and we'll get to that. But the overall features of it, besides the fact that the front right here will open up to reveal a little cavity that you can pour your ammunition into, which we won't be using because our ammunition's too big to fit in there. You've got these adjustable legs down here, which are nice and clicky. They kind of click into place, which is good. You're going to stand it up just like that, and that will work pretty darn good because, of course, it's going to open up that front flap and fling ammunition everywhere. Originally, the Claymore, I believe, shoots little ball bearing kinds of things. This will shoot foam ball bearings. On the back, you've got what I assume is some kind of bandolier kind of thing? I don't know. I have no use for those. However, there is a belt clip right here, which works pretty darn good. Overall, it's a pretty rugged piece of plastic. And then up here, you've got this keyring looking thing. Now, this is a modification that I did myself, because this little plastic key to arm the thing is kind of difficult to get out. With this plastic keyring here, it's a lot easier for me to twist and remove. And now this thing is totally live. However, we don't have a battery or anything in it yet. It doesn't exactly matter because you don't need to have that in order to use this thing. It's actually fully usable as a tripwire mine. You just tie some kind of string to that, tie the string or line or whatever you want to another object, and when somebody steps on that enough to work this lever, it will, of course, explode violently open. That almost sounded like it broke something, and that's kind of a reoccurring theme with these heavily spring-powered items. Of course, I haven't had a problem with it yet. I've detonated it several times, but that's always possible. And yeah, this is the entire setup of what we got inside. We've got a piece of cloth between two massive springs. Seriously, and all it does is this little latch lets that go. This will fly open because this thing is pressing against it, and this, whatever's in here, will get flung out all over the place. Which is pretty cool. I mean, that means you can pretty much fire anything that will fit perfectly in there. From what I've seen people using these for airsoft, you always wind up with airsoft BBs and stuff down here because, of course, it doesn't really clamp down on those all so much. And if you're using, well, in my case, Nerf rifle rounds, well, my mileage is a little bit under that what I'd use with the grenade because I can only fit probably about a maximum of 9 or 10 in here. And even then, it's a little finicky, but it can be done. It's a really simple setup. If you wanted to make this thing shoot Legos or something, you could totally do that, although I'm not recommending it. We're trying to make this as safe as possible. Loading this thing can be pretty tricky. We've got our ammunition of choice here, which is, of course, the Nerf rifle round. And you want to try to keep these as flat as possible while folding these down. Normally, it's easier to just kind of have it like this, since it scrunches up, but it's a pain. It's not easy. I'm not going to pretend that it's easy for any stretch of the imagination, but once you kind of get them flat in there and you do something like that, you can see why I said the maximum is about 10. If you're lucky, I'm putting 8 in there at the moment. You're going to put that together. You're going to press that down. You press that down. Now, if you hit this thing hard enough right now, it will detonate. So make sure you keep your priming key thing handy. But other than that, it is totally ready. If I hit that lever at all, or if I jostle this thing hard enough, it will detonate. And we'll try to... There we go. These springs are not to be messed with. So yeah, it can be done, but any more than that, you run the risk of breaking this, because this is a little plastic catch. And I really wouldn't want to destroy something like that. Seriously. But no, it does somewhat work, which is good. I just wish the hole in the front of it was a little bit bigger so we could fit the rounds through without having to open the thing up like this. There is a switch right here for turning the entire system on and off, which is, it's on the inside, which is a little disappointing, but once you stuff this thing full of ammunition, usually it has a little bit of a gap for you to slide, like something thin in there to toggle that switch if you need to. And overall, it's pretty darn cool. There's even a little LED indicator light, which we'll activate pretty much right now because we're going to put the battery in here. And it does come with that rechargeable NiCad battery, which is great because then you don't need to worry about battery space in the actual item, and you don't need to worry about having an actual battery set for this thing. Although disappointingly, of course, the detonator itself requires AA batteries. So, yeah, kind of a hit and miss opportunity right there. You have rechargeable battery included with this thing, but not in the actual detonator. And even though that looks like it clips on, and you think you could use it without the actual screw in there, you need to have the actual screw in there, which is a little disappointing. Well, we have that, and then of course we can turn it on, and that means that it's on and able to receive a wireless signal sent to it by the detonator. And this does look exceedingly like the actual detonator that this actual Claymore would have used. Go ahead and close that up. And I must add, while this is really cool and we're going to be using it for the purposes of a Nerf war, there is a lot of pressure on those springs. This thing opening up suddenly can cause some hurt. So it is important that when you're not in use, although you're getting ready to use it, you keep this kind of key in there so it doesn't actually break or anything like that. And yeah, then you can have the detonator, and you can turn the detonator on. And you will notice that even though it is locked together, when I press the detonator, it's going to make a click. And I can happily report that there's almost no delay when using this thing, which is good. You don't want something like this to have some kind of delay when you're hoping to use it when somebody walks past it. But of course, there is something that's missing right there, the fact that somebody can walk past it and it doesn't autonomously go off. That's disappointing. There are models of this that do include that feature, and maybe that's a good thing for some of you, because those ones don't come with nearly as cool of a thing. But of course, this is absolutely useless if you cannot see it, and you cannot time the explosion in general. But what could something like this be used for? Because after all, it's pretty much just a wireless shotgun that you can place pretty much anywhere. So I've come up with a few uses. Now, I did test some other ammunition. I tested some short darts, which worked okay, and some full-length darts, which didn't really work at all and destroyed the darts, but rifle rounds, they work pretty good. I could shove about 10 of them in here, usually around 8 or 9. If you shove any more than that, this plastic catch doesn't really work all that well, which is kind of disappointing, but the thing does work admirably pretty much however you want to use it, and some fun uses, well, any use you can think of where you have some kind of device that will fling rifle rounds about 50 feet at the best, and you can do that with the push of a button. Well, there's some uses for that. I had fun putting this on myself and having kind of a wireless explosion that if I need to, I can just press a button and this thing will explode and shoot rifle rounds off my chest, which is pretty freaking fun. And probably the coolest upgrade you could ever do to the NERF Terra Scout. You can have yourself an autonomous vehicle that not only shoots darts, but if you need to, you have a panic button Claymore explosion, which is a lot of fun. Now, there is another kind of thing to this that is untested at the moment, and I will update the video description if this comes to pass, but there's no telling that if this detonator is in range of another one of these, if the detonators are unique to the device or not. I'm hedging my bets on no. I have a feeling if I had 2 claymores on and 1 detonator, the detonator will blow up both claymores. I will be able to test this in the near future, however, right now, I cannot, so keep that in mind if you have multiple people using these things in a war. But you can also keep that in mind as it helps you set up even more elaborate traps with this thing, or if it's a real big issue, of course, you could just use the whole tripwire functionality, which is okay, but not great. I really like this thing, obviously. It's again something completely new and different. We don't normally have that kind of versatility where you just press the wireless trigger and it explodes. Is very good. The range I tested was pretty darn good. It doesn't work that well out of line of sight, but it does have like over 100-foot ranges, and it can go vaguely a couple of feet around corners and stuff like that before it can't pick up any kind of signal. I tried it at the longest ranges and it wouldn't work, but if I was in within line of sight, it did work, so take that in mind. It has its limits, and that's kind of where you wish it had some kind of anonymous, like motion sensing or something feature. It doesn't, but for the price, I mean, this alone I feel is definitely worth it, because building something like this yourself can be probably even more expensive. It kind of depends. I'm really interested to see what people do with these things. I've come up with a couple of uses myself, but of course, there's a lot of applications something like this can be used for, and this could very well add another whole role that wasn't previously usable in any kind of NERF war to your actual NERF war. We didn't really have anything like an explosive specialist or anything like that, and now we sure as heck freaking do. Let me know what you think about the Claymore down in the comment section below. If you have any ideas of other ways this thing could be used, I'm really open to hearing it, because this thing has a lot of different uses, and I'm sure we'll see some really cool stuff coming out. I need to get another one, so I have 2 of them, because obviously only having 1 is not good enough. But yeah, no, this thing's awesome. Battery life, I might want to add finally. Battery life, I've charged this thing once, I've detonated it like 40 times. Seriously, and I've left it on for like 2 hours, and it still hasn't died on me. And this runs off 2 AA's, and I have a feeling this will work pretty much forever. So, yeah, anyways out there, it's really, really cool, and if you're interested in this thing at all, I can highly recommend it. This has been Walcom S7, thank you very much for watching this video, and of course, I hope to see you in an entirely freaking different one. I don't know how much different it can get than a wireless detonating NERF Claymore.